So, I got something in the mail today. Can you guess what it is? I have a feeling that a very, very, very small number of you people might know what this is. This is hard to come by, and I actually found someone that was willing to send it my way to test. Figured out yet? Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. This right here is the legendary MS-1700 Bendix tester. This is factory stuff right here, baby. Oh, man. Look at that. And this kit, it's got everything. It's got your test leads for when it asks you to probe. It has an extension cable so you can use it inside the vehicle. It's got cartridges out the wazoo. Some of them the labels came off. But yeah, here it is. The AMC Jeep Electronic Diagnostic Tester. So it's got the 2 ports so you can plug in your ECU and test it out. I think that's for the 4.0 ones. Made in France. Oh. So it's got 3 buttons. Your R button, your Y button, and your no button. And then you got a cute little display down here. I think that's a vacuum fluorescent. So here's the cartridges we got. We got our 87 to 88 Jeeps with the 2.5 liter or the 4.0 liter. And this does the auto trans, which is awesome. Next one over here is it does the Eagle, Premier, and the Medallion, so that's more AMC stuff. We get another one that does Alliance Encore, and the Cherokee Wagoneer 2.5 liter, and automatic Transaxle MB. I wonder if that's the auto trans for the 2.5 liter. That might be worth looking into. And then we got another one, which is just the regular 87 2.5 4.0 AW4. So this one's a little newer. Cool. Well, enough messing around. Let's see if she works. Alright, so here we are. Out with the Jeep, 1989. She's a Renix. Oh, baby. I'm super psyched. A little nervous. So, the only thing I'm a little worried about is that this cartridge is for 87 to 88. And I have an 89, obviously. Now, it should still work perfectly fine, but it might complain about the ECU installed. It might say that the wrong ECU is installed. So we'll see. So let me hook all this up, and let's see what we come up with. So we got our 2 connectors on there, like so. And we get our cartridge. It says, insert cartridge this side face down, so we will do that. Okay, so now our cartridge is installed. There's no power yet. So it says up here, to insert the cartridge, connect the test cables, press the reset switch, and then press Y for vehicle test or no for other things. First off, we push reset. Oh my god, it turns on! Holy shit! Oh wow, look at that. It flickers on the phone. This damn phone, man, it hates displays. Wonder if is there anything I can do? Maybe turn it up a little bit. I don't know. Whatever. I guess we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, so it says 2.5 liter question mark. No. 4.0 liter. Let's just say no. Just see what else we get. Okay, so it only does 2.5 or 4.0. Okay, so we say yes. Auto trans, yes. AW4, yes. Air conditioning, yes. Vehicle test. I don't know what the vehicle test is, so let's say no. State display. Let's see what else happens when we say no. Auto trans test. Ooh. Trans state. Oh. TPS setting. Min current max. Okay. Measure volts. Continuity check. Measure volts. Continuity check. Okay, so we're in a loop now. So we're going to hit reset. We're going to go to 4.0. Auto trans, yes. AW4, yes. Air conditioning, yes. Vehicle test, no. State display, yes. Program cal 000. Okay, so the reason it's saying that is because our ECU is off. So let's go turn the key on. Contact. Okay, so now we come over here. I don't know why the heck it's actually blinking for me now. So I apologize if you can't really see this. Okay, so it says program cal B114. Okay, and that looks like the that's one of the ECU thingers. That is part of the prom number, whatever the heck that means. Okay, so what do? We push yes. What do we got? ECU test, blah 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 blah, transmission test, blah blah blah, whatever. We're just gonna say yes. Okay, so we got battery volts. It's obnoxious that this blinks so much, I'm sorry. Now, it's interesting that this shows battery voltage. This must be an internal thinger, because I know for a fact that the ECU does not show volts when this thing is off. Next we have H2O, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, 19 degrees Celsius. Next we have our intake air, 6418. Next we have our TPS at 14%, and throttle says partial, which is correct because it only shows partial when it is off. Next we have AC off, that's correct. EGR LAT and fuel. I'm not sure why it's blinking or what that means. Baro 29.88 inches of mercury. I think that looks pretty right. Oh, it even shows you in different pressures too. It says Baro in 997 millibars. We got vacuum, 0 Hg, which we would expect since it's off. 0 RPM. We have O2, voltage, and the loop, which is open loop. We have our pulse width for the injectors, 0. Knock is 255. Sync. Wow, alright, tongue twister. Sync signal, no sync. Well, that's just because it's not running. Okay, so now we have our ALFACL. So that's what our alpha something CL. It's 128. Next we have our FDFEF3. I don't know what that is, but I know it's part of the prom number. I don't know what that means though. Next we have just our program cal, which is 8114. Interesting. So if we hit no, we can go back. Alright. Okay. So that does things. So I guess we will start it up and see what we get. So now I'm curious what happens if we start the vehicle. Alright, she's ready to go. Let's see if I can turn you up. Get the blinking to go down a little bit. So the battery voltage reading is from the smaller diagnostic connector. That's reading directly from it, not an ECU reading. That's fine. It's really annoying that it blinks. If you hold it down, it stops blinking. And that says closed now, so that's good. Cool. AC off. I'm curious what happens if we do try to turn it on. Let's go to max. Oh, look at that. AC select, request CL. Interesting. So now let's turn this off. Will that say HL off and AC off? Interesting. Let's see what else we got here. You got EGR. Oh, I guess this is on and off. EGR off, LAT. What is LAT? LAT. And then fuel, I don't know what fuel is, unless that's just battery. I don't know. Next we got barrel, that's still fine. Vacuum, okay. So we got our RPM. Got our oxygen sensor. So you can actually see it go between rich and lean. That's cool. We got our injector pulse width, and that actually has 2 decimal points on there. Knock is shown 0, it's fine. Sync signal. Whoa. The little thing on the side's pretty cool. I wonder if that's really the, what it's calculating. It does seem to be changing speed a little bit. I don't know. Is that really what that is? That's cool as hell. Come on, focus, you fuck. Oh, that's awesome. If that's really what that is. Look at it go. I almost want to, like, rev it a little bit and see if that goes faster. Okay, so that's our short-term fuel trim right there, so that's still working fine. Okay. And then we just have the final prom number. I don't know what that means. It doesn't really give you any info on it. Interesting what that other thing is. See that thing going back and forth? I wonder what that means. Okay, so let's see what else this thing has. Wait, go back. Hold on there. 4.0, yes. Auto trans, yes. AW4, yes. Air conditioning, yes. So now let's see what the auto trans state looks like. So we have... Okay, so this is showing the module ID number, which is 01. That is correct. Okay. Next we have the TPS and we have the RPM. Alright. Okay, we have mode equals P. Shifter, Parker's. What was that? What the hell are degrees? What? 51, 52, 53. What does that even mean? What? Status. Okay, so those are the error codes. So check this out. If we turn this on, look at that. So now we get something. I think that's the binary, like the raw binary, and then you'd have to look up what that meant. Interesting. So if we turn that off, then I guess eventually that'll settle into something else. Yeah, there it goes. Huh. Ain't that nifty. What else we got? So we just got ID, TPS, RPM. We got mode, parking brake off. Huh. I need to look into that. Okay, after a little bit of thinking, I figured out what these mean. So mode, that is probably our power comfort switch. So if we go over to here and switch this to comfort, yeah, we get comfort, okay. And then the other one is the brake switch. So when we hit the brake is on. Okay, so that's what that means. That's easy enough. So shifter, park reverse, neutral drive. So we're going to shift this into reverse. No change. Shift it into neutral. No change. Drive. No change. Okay, so now we're in third, but I know my third switch doesn't work quite right, so now we're going to go to first, second. Really? Nothing, huh? Okay, alright, so now we're in third, so now it actually does read third. It should read first. Aha, there we go. First, second. Okay. Okay. So that's what that is. Come on, you fucker. I don't know what that means though. This right here, this 51 plus 52O 53O. Oh no, duh. That's the solenoids. Solenoid 1, solenoid 2, solenoid 3. Derp-de-der. Hello. Okay, so the plus means that it's on and the O means it's off. Alright, see, I'm catching on here. Hello. So we got our solenoids there. No real way to show you, because if I turn the solenoid on, it's not going to read on, because it's not reading what the TCU is doing. It's reading what the TCU wants to do. Okay, so next, what else we got after the solenoids? It should be everything, right? Just the status. Okay. So we got our module ID and TPS. 1, 4. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so we pretty much figured all that out, so that's fine. Okay. I'm going to explore with this a little bit and see what else we have. The vehicle test. So when we tell it yes, first it's testing. So it has the key off, and it tests it with the key off. Next, you turn the key on, and it'll give you another thing. Now I just plugged this in, and now it's giving us a different fault 1068 latch relay. Line high. Okay. The one I was getting before that was the B positive latch is low, and the reason that it's giving us that error is because, like I said, this is for the 1988. After in 1989, they changed some of the pins in the diagnostic port, one of them being the B positive latch. They moved it from pin 5 to pin 12. So if we go to pin 5, you'll notice there's nothing there, because now it's reserved for ABS. So what we have to do is take pin 12 and jump it to pin 5, but I don't know if I have enough to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10. And I only have, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 jumpers there. So I don't know if I have enough. But yeah, we would have to jump 12 to 5 in order to see if anything else shows up. They're getting smarter. So I jumped that, and now we get a different code, which now it's not gonna fucking show us. But it said wrong ECU. I think the code number was 1047. That's really annoying. What do I even measure voltage on? Fuck you, piece of crap. So I don't know if I can continue past that now. That's annoying. Huh. Okay, so next up we are going to try the 2.5 liter. So here we are with the Manchi. So this one is actually fully supported by the scanner, hopefully, so we might actually be able to get something useful out of it. So, 2.5 liter, yes. Wrangler YJ, no. Auto trans, no. Air conditioning, used to be. Vehicle test, let's see what the state display shows. So right now we got nothing, so let's go turn the key. Okay, 2062, that is expected for this one, cool. Alright, let's see what else we got here. So, next up, we got battery voltage. Okay, so that actually reads from the diagnostic port, that's interesting. Because I think the factory reading only shows like 10 volts or something like that. 68 degree temperature, that's normal. Our air is 57, looks good. TPS 14% closed. AC is off. EGR off. I don't know what LAT means, or fuel. So under fuel is fuel pump. What is LAT? AT. God, I feel really dumb right now. What could that possibly be? Barrow is 3. Now that is just the ECU issue. When you actually start it, then the barrow is properly finger-dingered. Vacuum, yeah, usual glitch, RPM. O2, 0.3 volts, open loop. Pulse width is nothing. Alpha, and program cal. Okay, cool. So, let's see what else this thing does. Let's go reset. No, no, yeah. Hold on. Yes, no, no, yes. Vehicle test. So let's turn the key off. Okay, testing. Unplug shift jumper. Where the hell's the shift jumper? What? Ugh. I don't know my vehicle that well. I don't know which one is shift jumper. Oh no. Fuck. Well, that's unfortunate. Unless we're lucky enough to find out that it's like this line or something right here. Let's see what happens. Hey, I actually got it. Son of a gun. Cool. So that right there is your shift jumper, if you're curious. Okay, let's turn the key on. Testing. Okay, that's good. Start engine. Oh, god damn it. Well then. I wasn't expecting to get this far, honestly. Let's make sure this thing doesn't get eaten up by the engine. I'm just gonna close that for right now. See if she starts. Contact. So I guess it must have shut off in between us. Idle RPM greater than 2,000. I think that was an E and then something else. Let's see if it shows it. Fault E 1051. Okay. So idle speed shouldn't be over 2 grand. Fair enough. Alright. Anyway. Let's see what the state display shows now. Fuel is on. Huh. Okay. Yeah, so that must be the EGR. So it says that the EGR is on. I'm sorry, the EGR is off. The latch is on, and the fuel is on. Makes sense. All right. I'm catching on here. Barrow's reading good now. Vacuum's reading good now. RPM is sitting at about 990, 980. So let's see what the gauge over here shows. Hey, okay, so it looks like the MS1700 has an accurate RPM reading. You'd hope so, since it's a factory frickin' tester. So that is something the MT2500 got wrong, was the RPM. Cool. So this is accurate. So I'll have to see what kind of math is in here. Oxygen sensor. This is shown in millivolts. It it only shows you 1 decimal point, so that's a little useless, but whatever. At least you know it's moving. Pulse width. Alpha CL looking good. Alright. That's pretty much everything there. I don't think this thing has anything else. TPS setting. Ooh. Turn key off. Let's see what this has to say. Alright. Unplugged TPS. Oh boy. This gonna be good. Okay. Unplugging TPS sensor, which is over here, by the way. Okay. TPS is officially unplugged. Guess we push yes now. Ground TPS C. I wonder if I can do that through the tester. Lots and lots of dicking around with this. I realize it's a very manual tester. The interesting thing is that it actually provides its own voltage and tests it by itself, so you don't even need it connected to the car. So I actually just have an old TPS sensor hanging out right here. So it looks like probe 1 is black and probe 2 is red. So what they want you to do is you unplug the TPS, you ground whatever sensor they tell you to, and then you probe A and B with whatever probe they tell you to. And then it's really basic. You just play with the thing, you adjust it, right? And you spin it. You notice it says rotate pot counterclockwise. If I rotate this enough, now it says rotate pot clockwise. So if we, oh look at that. If I hold it just right, it says lock adjustment. Huh. Isn't that cool?
It'd be nice, but there's no grease in it.
So the cool thing is, I actually have this hooked up properly, so when you tell it to do automatic, it tells you to probe the automatic side, and when you tell it manual, you tell it to probe the ECU side, or the engine side. So if you notice, this keeps bouncing back and forth between lock and adjust, so that means that mine's actually damn near perfect. So if I pull this down a little bit, it actually reads lock. That's incredible. Cool. So I actually have my TPS properly adjusted. Yay! Now, as for trying to do that to the 2.5 liter over there, I don't know. That's going to be tough because there's no wire that comes off. It's a real pain in the ass. Ugh. Interesting. But yeah, that's kind of a dumb design. It basically just tells you to rotate one way or the other. I like percentage readings a lot better. That'd be more useful. So if we come over to the REM, you notice when I shift it, right now we're in third, and it doesn't show up properly. But if I move it back just a little bit, there it is, third. That's a little bit into like the first second range. So then when we go to 1 second, it just goes back to reverse neutral drive. So it looks like that needs a little bit of adjustment. See, the only downside of this tester is if you had a fault, it forces you to check that fault. You can't skip to anything else. Okay, so we got this all set up on the bench real easy like. So it is confirmed that it does grab power and ground from the smaller connector. So this is just the battery positive and negative, so it can turn on even when the ignition's off. And the battery voltage reading is the actual reading from that line, not the serial reading. So that's interesting. But everything else seems to be... there's one more thing I want to check, which is this stuff right here, the EGR, latch, and fuel. I want to probe the lines, give them some voltage, and see if they switch from on to off, because I bet you they probably do. Okay, the next one is latch, and that is the battery positive latch. So if we come over here, this is that thing I was talking about where they change between the 2 years. So over here, number 5 is latch B positive, but on the newer one, 12 is B positive latch. So if we go over here, since this is only set up for that, and we probe number 5, which is going to be the second row middle terminal, and we touch this guy right here. You can see that changes. So I am still curious about the EGR. I don't want to start just poking random terminals because that's no bueno. I'll probably have to make a fake ECU output again and run through all the thingers and see what we find. Okay, so I got a mess of wires over here trying to fake a signal for the MS1700 to pick up, and it's proving to be quite difficult. So there are some interesting things here. Although it requires the power on this for the main power over here, you do need this ignition line high for it to actually search. So I don't know if that uses it for part of the actual COM. So I haven't tested to see if that green ground wire is necessary yet, but I know for certain that the ignition one is. Because check this out, when we go to state display now, it says no serial data, where before it would just show us all zeros. So that's interesting. So if we pull the ignition wire, it still says no serial. I'm going to gently put that down. We're going to reset this and test it again. So now we will go to state display and see now it shows zeros, which is interesting. So now I'm going to try the ignition without the ground. I'm going to move the ground somewhere else and see what happens next. Okay, check it out. We're finally in. So I just started messing around with it. So that ignition wire is definitely important. That is definitely necessary. But I took the ground off of our system ground pin or whatever that the MT2500 uses, and instead I'm running that from the transistor straight into our regular ground. So now what's happening is our signal should be going from the transistor through this straight into that ground. So that is the ground that it also uses, I think. So now we're in like Flynn, baby. Okay, so none of our data points move, so I don't know why this thing is flicking back and forth. I don't know what that means, but it's a thing and it does it. So if we flick through, the voltage is still the actual voltage reading. That is that. Okay. Alright, that is part of the add program, so I have that adding, and it actually does read 0 to probably 100, so that's cool. Alright. AC is off. All those read off. Okay. I'm really curious if that EGR flicks on at all. That is my main goal here, to figure out what's going on with that, because we figured out the other two are just battery. So this is interesting. I don't remember if I added an add program for the RPM, but check it out, there's no limit either. You notice it pegs out at like 28,000, so that's interesting. Cool. Alright. Okay. Yep. Okay, and since that does not flicken back and forth, it doesn't detect the sync signal, so we'll have to see what we can do with that. Alright. Okay. And it's interesting the order that this is in, because it's in a slightly different order than what the MT2500 is, so I don't know what this is, but it's a thing. So that's interesting. Alright, so check this out. The EGR, it's actually going back and forth now. It is part of the stream. Holy crap, we're gonna crack another one, baby. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so basically, I've been sitting here and mapping it out, seeing if everything's all the same and all that, blah blah blah. So far, so good. And I have an entire Arduino sketch running, and I have every single byte as add. And by doing that, our EGR moves. So now I'm going to have to sit there and track down which byte's the EGR, but this is awesome. Now we're going to crack more of the stream, so this is great news. At least we're learning something from this old dog. So here's something interesting. I've just been looking through everything, and I'm thinking that, funnily enough, I think that's like a finger wag or something, that it's out of bounds or it's not working properly, because if you notice If you notice when it says request but not select, that little waggy thing comes up. Almost like, hey, something's wrong here. So, yeah, look at that. See how the wag goes away once it goes over a certain amount? Interesting. So I guess that's a warning to let you know that the thingy's weird. So that must be why. That's cool. The sync signal also, it doesn't matter what kind of numbers you feed to it. As long as they're moving, the thing will spin. We could make that a little more cool or accurate, but it's interesting to note. Turn this on so you can see it better. So the other thing is, I think I know why that wag's coming up, because the program and cal numbers don't match 87 and 88. So I think that's why that comes up. Alright. Alrighty. Winner, chicken dinner. Check it out. I finally found it. I started going through the list. And the lucky winner is the loop and exhaust. So under loop exhaust is also EGR. Interesting. So, it looks like I'll be doing some poking a boot and see what the pattern is. Hooray! Alright, so after a lot of messing around with this thing, I think I finally figured out everything that's going on with the state display. So like I noticed, the little waggy finger means that the variable or whatever the reading is out of bounds, so that is interesting. It's kind of amusing too that it's a little like waggy finger, like nah, not today. But anyway, I've gone through the fun process of figuring out everything. So the far left column is what it takes to get the waggy finger to show up. So like for the first one, if it does not read exactly B0 or 176, then you get the finger. If the calibration is, I think that's backwards. I think it should be above 128, but I'll have to check. And then for like the H2O, the air, the TPS, if it's less than 3 or above 252, then you get the finger. For AC, if you get request without select, for baro, if it's less than 167, for knock, if it's greater than 240, and sync, you technically don't get the finger, but if you don't get any movement, it says no signal. So the other thing tells you what byte it is, or if it's direct, it tells you what pin it reads off. And then I sat there and looked at some of the math. So the EGR one is the most exciting one for me because that is new information. That is something I've not known about before. So I might actually go back and check the MT2500 out and see if the EGR is affected by that byte, just to make sure I was like, you know, I wasn't being dumb. So we'll check that out later, but this has been enlightening. So it's interesting to see how this thing works. It's been a lot of fun, so there's still more in here to dig up. We're getting there. Alright, so I just wanted to go off some of the other stuff that I found. So this is the new updated thing of all the math that I figured out. So I learned a few things. It was definitely interesting, especially with the RPM. I was able to hone in our readings a little better. So if we come down to U, okay. So here is our MS 1700 RPM reading, because I wanted to see what it was doing. Like sometimes I'd get weird numbers and stuff like that. So this right here is a power curve. I don't know why they decide to use a curve for some dumb reason, but they do. So, come on, you bastard. If we bring this down to something a little more reasonable, like, you know, $6,000, you can see the curve a little better. But, yeah, follows perfectly. So no problems there. I found out that the number that I was using in my calculations was only off by like a little bit. So we were using like, where was it? RPM 19,850,000, and with the with that one I figured out it was 19,868,686 roundabout. So you know, only off by like a little bit. But what I did find that was interesting is if the number is less than 300, then it doesn't show anything, which might help me out, because sometimes I was getting like spikes of really high numbers and I wasn't sure why, and that's probably why. Because when we look at the 16-bit, we get to 304, and that comes out to 65,000 RPM, which obviously isn't a thing. But what I'm thinking is that sometimes the number won't exactly read 0. Maybe they'll both maybe it'll read like 1 or something weird like that. And what happens is this actually loops over. So since this is an integer number, it's a 16-bit number, the highest it can go is like 65,000 something. So we're at the max. Like with a regular byte, it's 0 to 255. This one is 0 to 65,000. So when you go lower, the math makes this go over to the point that it loops back over to like nothing. So maybe that's one of our issues. So basically, if the RPM number is equal, like the serial byte number is less than 304, just tell it to equal 0 and everyone should be happy. So yay, we've learned things. So shout out to Cal for actually letting me you know, play around with this MS-1700 and see what it's capable of, because it's been enlightening, you know, to mess around with it and figure out how it works and just to see some old tech. It's really cool. It's a shame I couldn't get the ECU tester to work. I think you need a different dongle or something like that, a different box or some crap, because the connectors on that don't match the ECUs that I have. Either of them doesn't match the 4.0 or the 2.5, so I don't know. Anyway, that's a look into the past of some French tech. French meets America. Yeah, boy. Hope you enjoyed.